Okay, folks, good morning. So let's clean up some of this because we've got things all over the place, literally. That's what happens. Like literally, you're working on something, and as soon as you stop working on it, you're like, okay, let's just leave it everywhere. Let's get these little turret mounts out of here. Not a whole lot of cleanup, but just a little bit of damage control, so to speak. And then we'll get back into it. I think I worked on some of this next vehicle, which is unusual. Not on video, I think. I started working on it on the show yesterday, and I think what I did is I took a little bit of a break. Heck, I don't even remember. I think I worked on some of it off video. So we'll do a little recap for those that are interested. And I had an unusual situation happen yesterday when I was working on this. That does not happen very often. It's actually, it might surprise you. It surprises me when it does happen that it is such a rare event. This might happen. I don't think it even happens once a year, although it's already happened twice this year. And it's literally like the worst thing that could happen. It's not a big deal. It's so unusual. And that is when I'm working on something, and I put a lot of thought into something, and a lot of delivery, and then I'm not happy how it turns out. It is really a rare event, and I don't know how to fix it. I think I know how to fix it, but I think I knew how it was going to turn out, so I would be happy with it, and that didn't work. So if I'm not sure I know how to fix it, I'm not sure I'm going to have better results fixing it. But we'll see. The worst thing that happened, I have to repaint the whole. It's a repainting issue. Okay? And I'll have to take photos of it up close so you guys can see what's going on, because you're probably not going to be able to see it in this. I don't really want to zoom this thing in and out and screw up where the format is for it and everything. And besides, nobody's here, so I'll have to wait for the regulars to come in. Because I think it is worth talking about. And I think this is probably something that I'm going to start using AI for. Because if I used AI for this, it might have prevented getting this far in the project. And that's really what it is. It's not a, hey, it didn't turn out well. It's like I'm basically done with it, and I don't like how it turns out. So that's when I talk about experience, and I've mentioned this many times, is when you have a lot of experience doing something, it makes it easy to prevent being this far along and go like, this isn't really what I was looking for. This isn't really what I was going for. And I think when I have something that looks sketchy, or potentially sketchy, I can take a photo of it and mess with it very little with AI, but at least give me a look. And I think that was, well, who would have known? It doesn't happen very often. So in a nutshell, all one of you, whoever you are, we're going to take a look at this truck that we're affectionately calling Dirty Cooter. Now, why is it Dirty Cooter? Well, Cooter is some kind of redneck name. and it's dirty. And the delivery on this, it's just, there's a couple things I don't like about it. But the main one is this pink splashed paint, which is not my doing. That's how it came. So I'm going to take a photo of this thing and show you guys, if you care, of what it looks like from the front that does not show the paint. Because if you look at it head on, the paint's not over it. It looks pretty damn good. Head on, let me get the lighting right. I'm really not good at focusing on shit. Okay. So here's the front of this truck from the front. And it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's got headlights. Take this other one that looks a little bit more focused on the top. It's got a lot of headlamps. It looks pretty good from that angle. But as soon as you start showing the side of it that has some of this pink, the pink is just running a lot of interference. The pink is running a lot of interference. It's like you want to listen to a song and you can't because there's a fucking baby crying. It interrupts it. That's kind of what it is. Now, the good news is it's not in a very large area of the vehicle. It's on the hood. It's a little bit on the sides. Well, it's all down the sides, but we've done a good job of covering the thing up with mud. And the other thing that we did a really good job of is color matching the accessories that we put on it. The missiles aren't done yet. I haven't decided what direction I'm going to go in it. That is not done yet. I have not decided which direction I'm going to go in with the missiles. But all the stuff, this turret, and well, it's not really a turret, but the mount back here with the missiles and everything, the extra lights that we mounted on the top of it, all of that, we found the right paint right off the bat. Actually, I'm surprised how little amount. That always goes well. The color matching stuff always goes well. So I think I can do one of two things to make this look better. Okay? And it's not the muddy aspect of it. That's actually fine. I can do one of two things. I can add more mud and cover the entire hood portion here with mud and continue covering the side of it. That's probably the quickest one. Or repaint the hood and this side here that's showing. I'm not going to repaint the whole side. The part that's already covered by mud, that's cool. Take this color, repaint it, and then weather it and tie it in. That's really, I think, the two different ways of doing it. Because the pink being there, it's not that it's the pink. It doesn't go with anything. It is just so outlandish and it shouldn't be there that I'm just having trouble trying to wrap my head around it. So with that said, the easiest one is probably to continue the mud. Now, the only problem with continuing the mud is, saw a picture of the front of this truck. I don't really want to cover the front of the truck any more than it is. because I want to see the headlamps and all that kind of stuff. You cover the whole thing with front. Some would be like, "Oh, you don't know how to paint headlamps. That's why you covered it with mud." No, I'm happy with how my headlights turn out. But I think that's probably going to be the quickest one. I think that's probably going to be the quickest one. It can't be too dirty. With a name like that, I can't make it too dirty. So I think that's what we're going to do. Because I even have drippings and stuff on it. I mean, only the top missiles aren't done. So I think that's what we're going to do. Because I literally, I was working on it offline, cranking on it, feeling good, listening to some music. And then when it was time to leave, and then I was just like, you know what? Everything I do to it, it's just not looking any better. So I had to walk away from it, which of course is the right move. And again, it's not that it looks that bad. It just is, that pink is just nova. It doesn't go. So I'm going to take a picture of it before and hopefully the after picture I like better. Now some of you might go, what's wrong with it? It looks fine. It's, it's not what I envision. So, okay. So what we need to do, and like I said, this is a very rare event. This doesn't happen. And this is about working on this and fixing this is about the right amount of time that I have. I think I've convinced myself I am going to take a road trip today. I think. I'm going to be kind of rough with this, unfortunately. So let's get a brush that looks like it's... Oh, this one's... Yeah, I'm not going to mess with that right now. How about this one? There we go. Alright, so we're going to start with the bottom color, which is chocolate brown. Yeah, not a lot of... Nobody on. Wake up, folks. It's Sunday morning. This is when most people are on Sunday. I guess nobody got their honeydew list done yesterday, so they work on it today, too. I'm talking about you British people. Nobody in the UK is crazy enough to wake up this early. Except me. Now, I always have people question me, why you get up at 5 o'clock every morning? I said, well, I have to get up at 5 o'clock on Monday through Friday so that I'm not rushed to get to work and I can do whatever I want for a little bit of time in the morning, right? So I have to do that. So why would I want to retrain myself on Saturday and Sunday every week? Just keep it going. And I've overslept sometimes. My idea of oversleeping is waking up at 6:30. All right, so we're going to kind of just apply this like this. So I don't really have anything to lose. The way it's looking is not going to work. So really the two alternative is just to repaint the whole hood in the pale sand, which honestly is like a perfect match for it. Or do this. And once we get rid of those, it's like what I was talking about when I was building this. When you have a plastic frame in the bed that's dark blue, and you have parts that you added that are in two different shades of gray, and you got all these parts that are in all these different colors. They're all screaming for attention, and the color value of them is all fighting each other. It's hard to kind of look and see how something looks. So as I primed this and was removing some of the colors, so eventually you just got to the color of the die-cast car, and that's about it. And the weathering, it looked better and better, but this pink just, I just can't work with this pink splatter. And it's not that it's pink, I think it's the splatter that just, it doesn't go. It's like an artsy splatter, whatever. I was trying to explain it to somebody the other day. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like that, the Blue Man Group. You ever seen the Blue Man Group show? There's a part on the show where they pour this paint. I really should call it watered down paint because it's not really that thick. And it splashes everywhere. And they're on their drum thing, and they're playing the drums. And as they're playing the drums, it's splattering all over them. It's kind of like that. Okay, and it's already looking better. But if you've got heavy mud here, it stands to reason that the mud that is the closer to the ground should be heavier. Unless it got wiped off. So we'll make sure the front of the hood and this has it. I'm going to try a vehicle, one of these rust buckets like some of you guys do for Gaslands. I don't really mind how they look. I just know that most people that I see that build rust buckets make multiple cars that look like that. So it's very different like if I took, these cars the way they are and rusted them out. As opposed to, okay, let's prime everything and make them all look like they've been out in the desert for 120 years or something like that. And every car looks the same. That just bores the hell out of me. Okay. And this may not work. But it certainly wasn't working the way it was looking. And like I said, it rarely happens. It doesn't even happen once a year, but this year it's happened twice. And I wasn't able to fix the last thing. It's not like I threw it away, but I needed to walk away from it. And that's that garage I was working on. And I spent a lot of time on that. And it's not working for me. Let's just go ahead and cover this too. We're going to put a lighter color over this anyways. this either, but. Now let's put this on here. Like I went through some mud that was 3 foot high, something like that. I'll go over the taillights. I gotta repaint them. Okay. Good morning, Warlord. All right, now we're going to add US field drab. No. You know what we're going to do? You know what we're going to do? Because this is, the other ones have these same colors. But, like this is the same weathering colors, but it's like light weathering, not crazy weathering. This is crazy weather. Let's put some clay aspect to it. Okay, this parasite brown, we're going to add this parasite brown to it. And yeah, this is awfully bright, but you ever seen a vehicle that shows up with Georgia clay? It's a fucking mess. Let's make sure this doesn't blend too much. No, we're good. All right, now we're gonna dry run it. I might actually have fun with this. Oh, this is starting to look kind of like that rust thing. Well, that's not really the look we were going for. It's got to look better than how it was. And like I said, it was all because of that pink splatter that came with the vehicle. And not because it was pink, it just didn't go with anything else. I've done several pink vehicles, and the pink vehicles actually work really well. They weather nicely. Yeah, I think this will work. We got a few layers to put on, and then we'll have to weather it. And I don't want to use any dirt effects or anything like that because they add too much thickness to it. I mean, I'm already adding thickness to it by doing this. All the vehicles weathered, they're just not weathered to this degree. Alright, let me put my glasses and look if I'm going on the right. It's looking a lot better than it was before. And like I said, it looked good from the front where I didn't see that pink splash. Ides of March is it today? Is it? Celebrate by having a Caesar salad. I tried to watch that Rome miniseries again, and I couldn't get into it the second time. I don't know, just some parts are too slow. It's good, but I was working on that when I was working on my Roman army, so it worked perfectly. I didn't know that it was that helpful at all. It was just something to be in the mood. Now, I may not be able to do this. I'm going to go back to the original color that was the weathering. We're going to come back and add some more of this because we don't want this to look like rust. We're not going to cover all of this mud or what have you, but we want it to have kind of a underlayer of it. Now, I never remember Ides of March, but I always remember St. Patrick's Day. And I'm not Irish, and I've never really done anything for St. Patrick's Day. Kind of want to. I feel like St. Patrick's Day for me is kind of like those people that have maybe a girlfriend or somebody that they wish they would have done something with and they never did, or missed opportunity or something like that. It's almost like, man, I missed all these St. Patrick's Day that I don't know why. And it's just this idea that, oh, it's probably a lot of fun, but maybe it isn't. Maybe some of you guys have had really, I drank too much experience on St. Patrick's Day and don't want to celebrate it. But I feel like there's this, man, I could have had some fun and I never done anything for it. You know, first of all, it's very difficult to, if it lands not on a, if it doesn't land on Friday or Saturday. I mean, St. Patrick's Day needs to be on Saturday always. You know, that's so people like Mitch that work on Saturday can't celebrate. I just do my traditional painting thing. I don't know. I never forget St. Patrick's Day for some reason. The day I hate is Friday the 13th. The people like make little cracks. Well, that's happening because it's Friday the 13th. I said, I'll burn you. I'll burn you to the ground, witch. I hate that. That and April Fools. The problem with the April Fools is probably the worst one of those things, because I make it a point to not lie to people. I don't like playing games where you have to be the cutthroat, right? You have not the cutthroat, because that you could just do that at the end of the game, right? But I'm just saying the whole game you're pretending to be, you know, a what's the word? A wolf in sheep's clothing. That's not my vibe. I'm never that way. I think it's dishonest. It's dishonest to your character. So I absolutely hate that people think they can do that and then all of a sudden they just go back to being their normal self. Nope. And I haven't been pranked hard or anything on that. It's just the whole principle of it. I hate April Fools. Okay, I think this is working. And then we'll put some of this up so it's not completely clean up here. And the bed is not dirty because, you know, the stuff didn't come up here, but I'm going to put a little bit of it in here. Let's maybe dirty this up a little bit more. We'll get this where we're happy with it. It's a cool build. I think the truck itself, like, physically looks good. It's just that paint job with the that pink splatter that doesn't go, you know. You're 1/4 Irish, Protestant, so you wear orange on St. Patty's. Your niece's birthday is probably what you're going to say, is April 1st. So the thing about the Irish, right? I was building an Irish army and I found this thing out, you know, in an old Irish army. And I'm going to read between the lines here a little bit. So supposedly, and I don't know where I found this, but I was looking at different articles of how to paint, you know, what kind of clothing, what color clothing they used. And we're talking to, like, you know, 1300s, right? So medieval Irish clothing. And from what I was able to tell, the traditional Irish color is not green, it's yellow. Because it has a tie-in with some pre-Christian deity that the Irish, or the people that are in Ireland worshipped, that had to do with the sun. So the traditional Irish color was yellow, and it kind of got, you know, when Christianity came, it kind of got amalgamated, and like that's kind of their color. And plus, you know, in medieval times, you know, and we're not talking about rich people, we're talking about just the common folks, right? They're not going to spend a lot of money on like tints and inks and things like that. So you've got to dyes what I'm thinking of. Dyes, you got to use whatever dye is available, and a yellow dye was pretty prominent in Ireland. So then Henry VIII comes, and he wants to conquer Ireland. I think it was Henry VIII. And Well, lots of people wanted to conquer Ireland, but anyways, he went in there and basically made it. I think it was Henry VIII. I'm not making this up. If I would, I'd come up with something a lot more creative than this. He basically outlawed wearing yellow for whatever reason. So they shifted to green. And then, I guess the Protestant thing is orange, which I didn't know about. Well, that comes from William of Orange, right? The Dutch, after the Stuarts. They always have orange tied in there. Because, I've got when I was going to do Renaissance, I've got a Spanish Netherlands army that I'm going to build, and their enemy is the Dutch Revolt, as the list is called in DBR, and they have orange sashes and things like that to tie in. So. A quarter Irish. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have no Irish in me, but that's okay. I like, I've never been able to do anything like I don't know anyone. I had one guy, you're probably in Europe being awake this time, but people in America, as a general rule, I'm saying this very generally, so if you live in America and you don't agree with me, I'm sorry. In my interaction, most people in America don't know where they come from. They don't have a really good lineage. I think it's sad, but I guess if it's too complicated, you don't care as much. Mine's not so complicated, so. So up in the Northeast, there's people that know that they're Irish, but down here everybody will tell you, oh, well, I'm mostly English, Scots Irish, German, and 1/16 Cherokee. That's what everybody is. It's, you ask some white bread person, that's what they're going to say. I've heard that response. I don't know where that 1/16 of the Cherokee gets in there, but. But people don't know what their family crest is. As a general rule, I'm just saying most people. And I'm like, what? Now, I grew up with one that we always had in the house. And it looks cool. Like if if you had a shitty one, like somebody's tying their shoelaces and blowing a horn out of their ass, right? Like that's your family crest. Yeah, you probably wouldn't be very proud of it, right? Wasn't Ireland had maybe that may be what they make the dye out of, You're Irish, Scottish, English, and German, 1/4 each. Yeah, so if you lived here in the United States, you're missing that 1/16 Cherokee. I bet they say that so they can get some of that casino money. Oh man. Okay, now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some of this lighter color that I normally do anyways, but I'm going to go really light on it. I'm going to go light on it so that it looks like it's more, as mud as it dries, it gets lighter normally. We're going to leave that on here, and then we're going to come in and we're going to put the lines back in so the details pop, and hopefully we're okay with it. At some point, I need to be like, you know what? Let's just leave that alone. Yeah, most people don't know what they are. Unless, like maybe you're Italian and and everybody in your family is Italian and you've always been Italian or whatever. I have somebody that I work with, and they claim they claim they say they're adopted, and they say they don't really know what their real name is. I'm like, oh my god, I'd lose my fucking mind. I said, I guess you'd have to do the 23andMe or whatever the hell that thing's called. No, 23andMe went out of business. Whatever, the Ancestry or whatever. I think they did do that. They found out that they had like a sister or something they didn't know about. I'm like, oh my god, I guess I just don't have that much. I don't have that much drama. You know, the only drama we had is, my dad had to leave the country he was born in because, commies took over and start over. That's really the only drama that we have that we know of. At least short term, meaning, recently. Now, who knows? I might actually like this a little too much. It's a cool truck. I saw it and I'm like, that's just a. It looks like a Chevy S10. It definitely has all the lines of a Chevy S10, which a Chevy S10 was a small truck. It was basically like a compact pickup truck, so to speak. And this is 1977, so I don't know if the S10 was around back then. S10 might have come out in the 80s. And I think their larger truck at the time was the Silverado. I think that's right. I don't know. I'm not a truck person, but. Ah, friend in Arizona. I was wondering when you were going to show up. Which one? Do I have two? Or did I think I have two and it's just you? I almost mentioned your other name, and I'm wondering, yeah, nobody's awake except you. You get up early. Hopefully you got that under control. You're retired, so I guess you could make your own schedule whatever the hell you want, right? Wait, I know 3 people in Arizona. Your name, the Landschneck guy, and the other one, which I think is the other one. It's all good, man. We got friends in all places. I went to Arizona for a moment, but it was on the tarmac. It was when we were on our way to Utah. I remember it was at night, and we landed in Phoenix, and said, welcome to Phoenix. The temperature is, it was like 88 degrees or something like that at night. And I'm like, I thought it got cool in the desert. Like, holy shit. That's hot. And you know what? Kevin, yeah, okay. What's your other Kevin? What's the normal Kevin account? No, I think your old account is called Kevin. Has Kevin something or another. But you're not the Landschneck guy. That's a different guy in Arizona, right? Because he's also in Arizona. Oh, I got somebody else that's I got a guy that I've been interacting with him recently, and he is also in Arizona. And I sent him back and forth. He sent me a friend request, and I'm like, if it's somebody usually that like we're on a Facebook page, right? And we have interactions back and forth. And so if it's somebody that I see that we have similar hobbies, I'll usually either send them a friend request or not, just so it's, you don't want to miss any of their stuff. Obviously we talk about similar things or whatever. And this guy sent me a friend request. I accepted it. And I said, hey, and he apparently is, he's going through some knee surgery right now. and or just got done with some knee surgery. And he's like, yeah, I watch all your videos. Thanks for entertaining me. I'm like, that's great. You mind like giving me a shout out? And it's not. I don't want to, I don't want to expose you guys, right? It's just that it's nice to know somebody there is listening, so that I don't like, well, I guess nobody's here, so fuck this. And you might be like really interested in what I'm doing right now, but I'll end up like leaving because I just think it's just, being wasted or whatever. The Game Depot. We sure it was me? In Arizona? You're not talking about the place in Calgary, right? I've never set foot on Arizona. Literally, like I was in the plane, so it wasn't me. I don't have anything against going to Arizona, but it just hasn't happened. Arizona doesn't really have a bad reputation. There's some states, right or wrong, looking at it from my viewpoint of what I've heard in over 50 years in this part of the world, there's some states that just have, right or wrong, have a bad connotation. Okay? Right or wrong. New Mexico's one of those. New Mexico just has a bad connotation. Like, I have no interest in going to New Mexico. Now, there's probably places in New Mexico I'd really like. But high crime, they drop fucking atom bombs there. It just doesn't have, it just doesn't have a very good, connotation. People probably say the same thing about Florida. I can tell you that I don't live in one of those places that you hear all the stories about in Florida. Where I live is like very different than Jacksonville or Miami or, so I get it. You might live in New Mexico and go like, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? This part that I live in New Mexico is great. I said, well, that's just they don't drop bombs or they don't detonate bombs where you're at, or maybe you don't have a little high crime area, but New Mexico has a lot of crime. So, California, not going into that. We all know what kind of a connotation California has. Plus the homeless people shitting on the street. They didn't have that one. That one's a recent one. But are there any states that have a good reputation, like all around? Like, what is the state that if you polled everyone, most people would agree? I should look that up. What state do people think, and maybe incorrect, what is the perception of the state that is the most benign of all the states? I don't know what the hell it would be. I would have said something like Minnesota until, read the last 10 years, right? This, something up there, like you can't use North Dakota. There ain't nobody fucking there. Now, what is the state that is, there was this map of the United States one time I came across on some post. And I love talking about geography. And it was a map of the United States and it had all the states on it. And it was color coded by what state do most people in that state dislike. So it was color coded by what state they dislike the most from that area. So like for instance, you had Arizona, Nevada. Arizona and Nevada definitely in that chart. Whether this is right or wrong, I didn't take the poll. Don't judge me. I thought it was just interesting. It's food for thought. Arizona and Nevada dislike California. And California probably disliked Arizona or something like that. I don't know. But it was like, normally the people that are next to you, you have the angst with. You have the beef with. Right? Like, Mississippi didn't like Alabama, and Alabama didn't like Mississippi, and Alabama might have not liked Georgia, and Georgia didn't like Florida or something like that. But when it came to Florida, So according to this chart, the people, whenever they did this poll, the state that people in Florida disliked the most was Florida. And I tell you, as somebody who's lived in Florida their entire life, except for 3 years, I disagree with that. I don't like the bugs here. I don't like how fucking hot it is. I don't like. Well, it's grown a lot, but I like our state because it's not uniform everywhere. I don't know. I can't imagine living somewhere that's not Florida, and I don't know that. I can't imagine living in a place like Wyoming that has a state that is fucking square. And the problem is like, if you, I like Florida shaped things. Like I need to put it up there. I got this little, this state of Florida. It's a cutting board, and I'm not going to cut into it. Somebody gave it to me and engraved our name on it. I need to put it somewhere. Like I like Florida. I like Florida shaped things. I don't know. It makes me happy. Like some people, mostly here, Florida being heavily Republican. Well, it was 50-50 and it's going that way, but I think we're better off not voting for anybody. Just everybody sucks. Politicians suck. Politicians suck. All of them. Some of them more than others, but they're all terrible. But yeah, the problem with Florida's been, as a general rule, tax friendly. So, especially during the Big C, people came here. And here's the problem, and this pretty much goes for no matter where you live, okay? But if you live in a place that you're like, I can't take it living here anymore because the authorities have made it so unpleasant to live here, even though we voted for this stuff. Like, all of us here, we voted for this stuff, and we've turned it into a miserable place. We can't live here anymore. So let's leave somewhere else and go somewhere else. And then when they go to that somewhere else, they vote and ask for the same shit that made their life miserable in the first place. And I'm just against that. So I'm like, you want to come to Florida, that's fine. You're not allowed to vote here. You can come here, but people that are born in Florida are the only ones that get to vote in Florida. I don't know. It's just, I see that happening all the time. And I'm sure that's happening to you in Arizona. You're in Arizona and like, man, Arizona's not bad. I mean, we got some issues here. It's not bad. But when the Californians come over with all their regulations, and I'm not saying you don't need regulations, but you can over-regulate things. You definitely need regulations because I was a very pro-business person, say 15 years ago, and I don't like corporations because they're fucking evil, And it's not that they're evil. It's that so much of their success, apparently, this is from my very little limited viewpoint, and I don't even listen to the news or anything. I've just noticed that their success of corporations is based a lot on like the stock market and people on the board and things like that. And they cut corners, just like you've seen restaurants in the last 5 years. They cut corners they don't need to cut. And they basically alienate the same people that they're trying to, so they cut every corner and they do things that I wouldn't do in my life. Like I don't behave in myself dishonestly and things like that. And it's like, so you got to have some kind of government regulation to curb that. What we didn't expect is that, or at least I didn't expect, that many times the corporations and government are in cahoots. Well, that doesn't fucking help, right? But, yeah. So, anyhow. Peeps think we dislike Mexicans. So here's the strangest thing about Mexicans, okay? Here's the thing I find the strangest thing that people think about Mexicans, and this has not been my experience. It's that they're lazy and they don't work. I disagree. Those are the hardest working motherfuckers that I've ever encountered. They'll come here, and I'm not talking about whether they're illegal or illegal, I'm just talking about like hard workers. They come in and they do hardships that people wouldn't do here. Like, 4, 5, 6, 8 buddies all live in one trailer, and they come in here and they work hard on construction sites or whatever it is that they do, and then they send the money home to their family. They're hard fucking workers. They do shit I wouldn't do, So I have no beef with them. Of course, I can communicate with them, so that's not an issue. I have a friend of mine who will remain nameless unless he comes on here and alienates himself. And he was in the service, and he always was surprised how everywhere he got sent was just a ton of Mexicans. Well, they sent you to the fucking desert, He sent you to somewhere, and I have been to Mexico several times, but I have never been to the frontera. So the frontera area is not. It's very different than the parts of Mexico I've been to. So, but yeah, that's the misconception that a lot of people have about Mexico. And I'm sure there may be some that are on welfare and aren't doing anything, but the ones I see is they work every day of the week. They were building these houses behind here, and they worked on Thanksgiving. They work on fucking Christmas. They don't give a shit. They're here to work. Otherwise, they'd still be in Mexico. They would be in Mexico if there was work for them there. So yeah, lazy? No, maybe some, but people in this country are lazier. That's for damn sure. Latinos will work the jobs that are out in the summer heat. Well, that's the thing is it's maybe not Arizona, because Arizona is pretty extreme, but the countries that Latinos are from, and I actually, yeah, the countries that Latinos are from are generally hotter than the United States. So I don't know that you're. A lot of things that you do in life are mental. Like if you expect something to be a bitch and it's a bitch, it's not bad. If you expect something to be easy and it's a bitch, very disgruntled, So, it's hot. You say, oh man, I'm mowing the lawn. Why the fuck am I sweating so much? Dude, you're fucking mowing the lawn, right? Like, you kind of should be expecting that. So, anyhow. So he's back to Florida. The problem we have here is, and I suspect this is a problem everywhere, is insurance. It's out of fucking control. And the problem is that you can't use it. You figure, oh, well, you could just get a new car, but you can't fucking use your insurance, or they'll drop you. So it's like, it's out of control. It's basically something, you're paying for something, you're paying overpriced for something that you're not allowed to use. It's a racket, It's like the oil thing, right? Like, how much is gas? Gas has gone in the last 2 weeks, ridiculous, up 25%. Diesel's probably up more than 25%, right? Which drives the cost of everything. But that gas that they have there in the pump didn't go up in price. They already bought it. They're basically they're making an excuse to raise it now for the barrel that, I don't know how long it takes to get from the barrel to the refinery and back to them. I suspect that, if you tracked a molecule of oil, I don't know how long it takes. It probably takes 3 months. I'm guessing. I don't know. But, it goes up immediately, right? Yeah, so, anyhow. Diesel, man. Diesel drives everything. Forget unleaded. You just be like, you know what? I'm only going to go out grocery shopping once a week instead of twice a week or 3 times a week, right? You can control that. You can't control how efficient a truck delivery service is. Just going to put a little bit of contrast. I think this is better. It's definitely better. We needed to get rid of that pink. It didn't belong there. If the whole truck was pink, that would work. But it's not. It just had like this splatter in different areas. I like the Latinos to come legally. We need them to counter the Islamic immigrant. Well, the thing is that you need everybody to come in legally. Just look at it from the standpoint of, what about the people that come legally and you can't just jump in line with them, right? You can't just go to some store, right? And you're the last one to show up and you're like, I don't give a fuck how many people are waiting in line here. I'm going to the front of the line because I'm Paco. Well, what about Pedro and everybody else is in line that's waiting? I mean, just think of it from a fair standpoint, Now, one thing I've always said about illegal people or people that showed up here that broke the law to get in the United States. What's the real problem? Is it because they're taking benefits and they're not working? Now, I've always said, you want to get rid of that, get rid of the income tax. Because people that work here legally, we got to pay the percentage, right? To be fair, into Social Security and stuff like that. And if you are being paid under the table, you're not paying those things, right? So the way around that, I look down, I'm like, oh, this looks like a Guinness. Nope, it's not St. Patrick's Day. I did realize I was excited. I actually have a Guinness. I have some Guinness in the refrigerator, and the reason is the wife makes a chocolate stout cake from occasions that you got to buy it. We couldn't buy an individual one, so we have leftovers. So I'll have a Guinness on Tuesday night. I'll sip on one. Celebrate. But, the way to get around that is just have no income tax for anybody, and just you pay all those taxes in your sales tax. So you can pay people however the hell you want, right? So they could pay me, whatever it is that they pay me that amount, and they don't take anything out of it. And then when I go to the grocery store to buy bread that's $5, I pay 40% taxes on that bread. And that 40% taxes goes to all those things. And then everybody's fair, right? Unless you're buying your bread under the table, everybody's paying their fair share. Then that whole fair share thing isn't an issue. If that's your argument, that's how you get it. Oh, well, we can't do that because you can't get that because somebody's getting a cut or an advantage to that. That's how you do away with that. You call that whatever you want, a sales tax, flat tax. I don't know what the fuck it's called. I'm just saying, I don't watch the news because I detest people arguing about the same shit for 200 fucking years. Like, okay, we got to come up with a different problem. Do something different even if it's fucking wrong. I had a coworker that used to say that. I don't know. It depends what it is. A lot of immigrants we have are not working. Well, what the fuck are they living on? I don't know. I talked about this earlier. I used to do a fair amount of online gaming. And say about from 2005, people used to talk to each other with a microphone. And then it kind of stopped. Nobody talks to each other. And it's mainly because I think of children. I think it's a lot of these consoles are used by shitty parents as a babysitter. I'm talking like a 7 or an 8-year-old playing a mature game, right? And they're running their mouth and they're cussing up and down, and they don't know who their fucking dad is. I don't know, there's exceptions to stuff like that. But I'm just saying that nobody wants to listen to somebody 4 foot tall with a 6 foot mouth, right? That won't shut up the whole time. So nobody talks to each other. But it's very rare to go on an online game and like be able to listen to somebody. But I've been playing this one online game that I've been playing since it ever came out with different versions of it. And I go, I need to coordinate doing this quest. So let me talk to somebody. And I came to the realization, and I actually got a hold of somebody. And I realized that there's a lot of people that don't work, are stoned all day long, and all they do is play video games. I'm like, What the fuck are you living off of? You know? Because, I was a poor student. I moved out and didn't really have any money for it. I don't ever want to live like that again. I'm like, we're not doing that again. So, you got your mom and dad taking care of your 40-year-old self. Or what's going on? Because it's like, yeah, I would love to stay home all day, but, we got overhead, And I'm not talking about, oh, you'd be bored sitting home. Not me. Not my happy ass, But yeah, I talked to several people or attempted to talk to them, and these people were stoned out of their fucking mind playing video games all day. And they like to talk down to people. Oh, you're not very good. Or you need to play more. Or these guys will be like, the game's too easy. What do you mean the game's too easy? It takes whatever. Oh, it's too easy. Well, you're sitting there playing it 14 hours a fucking day, not going to work. Like, you need to go to work, dickweed. I didn't know there was a whole culture of it. Maybe I'm making, I just doesn't make any sense. My parents wouldn't have tolerated that. They'd sit around and not have a job and not go to school and not do this and be doing drugs. Or did drugs that definitely had an effect on their, oh yeah, like they move like slow and shit, I don't listen to that. Had no idea. You live off of, okay, but you're older, right? You're probably of retirement age. Because you're older, like you guys can retire like at 62 or something like that. So you're close to that, right? You did your time in the service, right? It's not like you were a mooch, You know what I'm talking about. You guys that are ex-military get really fucked. You guys really do. I don't mean that ugly. I mean, it's just true. Like, you go to some sandbox and you lose, like, your legs, right? 65. Dude, you're good. We're not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. You did your time. You didn't ask to get hurt or whatever it was, But those guys go to the sandbox, lose legs and stuff like that, and they don't care. They don't care. And then they go and, and then the people that sent you over there to make you lose your legs end up making a deal with the same people that blew your legs off to keep it It's just like, I don't watch the news. It'd be miserable. I was watching some show that was recommended to me, the one with Chris Pratt in it, where he's, I don't remember what it's called. It came out like 4 or 5 years ago. He's some special forces guy, which I'm like, Chris Pratt, special forces, come on, man. But that wasn't the issue with it. The issue with it was basically he was, I don't know if it was like a payback thing, but he was basically like trying to investigate how like politicians had been double dealing him and screwing him and his guys on the ground. And I'm like, I couldn't watch it anymore. I was getting angry. I was getting fucking angry. And I don't have anybody in my family that that's in the service. Father-in-law was in the service, but he's not around anymore. And that was Vietnam. But modern wars, nobody's in there. So I can only imagine folks that have been not done right. So you can't watch stuff like that. I can't watch it, And maybe that's always gone on, but and that's why I don't get into politics, because everybody's a dirtbag. You'll get people on your local things and they'll argue like, oh no, this person's great. Oh no, this person's great. They all suck. Okay, they all suck and none of them care about you. All of them. And the worst thing is they'll tell you one thing and then do the opposite. That's like, I don't know how they can live with themselves. Maybe it's because a lot of them are attorneys and they're used to lying. You're like, okay, I'll represent you. And meanwhile, you're going, well, that guy's fucking guilty as shit, but I'll take his fucking money. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I mean, maybe if I was starving and, it's either like I'm starved and I got flies in my eyes, or I have to represent them. That's different, okay? But I'm like, I don't need a yacht, okay? I don't need to have a BMW or a Mercedes or something like that. So, I don't need money that much to just basically, like, be a liar. We're not all made for the same different thing. I don't know. I just can't stand. I mean, I can't even stand. I can't even stand it when people say, "Hey, when do you want to play DBA again?" Oh, we'll get together next Tuesday. Okay, cool. And then Tuesday day, they say, "Well," I'm like, "Where are you?" Oh, I couldn't make it. I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that kind of dishonesty. You know, stockbrokers. Well, I've said this about collecting. Let's say you collect baseball cards, all right? Let's say you collect baseball cards. Here I go on my soapbox of telling people what not to do. People can do whatever you want. I'm very libertarian. Live your life however you want. Don't be a dirtbag. Don't get in other people's, don't inhibit other people's freedoms, as long as they don't inhibit yours. But if you're collecting baseball cards, you better be into fucking baseball, right? That'd be like me collecting Barbies. Why am I collecting? I don't. Why do I collect Barbies? For the money. Do you care about Barbies? Fuck no. You shouldn't be collecting Barbies. I'm sorry. It just, so you shouldn't be invested in companies that you don't give a fuck about. I don't know. That's what their job is, but I couldn't do it. I could sell, let's say I'm really into my car, right? Which I like my car a fair bit, right? I could probably work for Subaru and get people to try to buy these things. Because I could tell them everything that I like about them and everything. I probably would be okay. I can't sell you a Tesla. I can't sell you a Tesla. Now, I've never driven one and I'm not going to. It's missing a third pedal and other issues. But I can't sell something I'm not interested in. I don't have it in me. I don't want to do that. I think it's dishonest. I think it's completely dishonest. It'd be like, if somebody says, "Hey, how does this look good on me?" "Oh, you look fucking fabulous." Well, you also can't say, "Well, you look like shit." So you got to navigate. You got to be a little political about that. But I'm just saying, I don't like being dishonest. I think it's dishonest. Now, there's problems with that. If I'm having a bad day, I generally don't give a fuck if people know that I'm having a bad day. I'm not like, well, I'll just swallow it and I'll just be all happy and shit. That's not me. When it looks like I'm having fun, guess who's having fun? This fucker. I don't like to pretend. My pretend thing are like pretend accents that I do in games. That's it. The rest of it, it's too difficult to be a faker. And yet some people, I'm not saying you, some people, and have no problem with it. You meet somebody, fuck, what did I tell that guy? Did I tell him this? If you're just honest. I don't know. Kevin, what kind of vehicle do you drive? And I don't care if somebody says, "Hey man, I've been watching your show. You're a real asshole." Okay, but don't come to my show and say, "Hey, you're a fucking liar." I am fucking not. We're gonna fight. I am not a liar. That's a terrible trait to have. I was just talking about this recently with somebody. If people find out, and this I've encountered this, somebody that like makes up stories, when do they get their credibility back? Like, say you encounter somebody and then you realize this guy's been filling me full of shit. When does that person that fills you full of shit get their credibility back? Never. You never can get your credibility back. Ever. You never get your credibility, virginity back. Ever. I never really thought about it until I like put it like, you find out somebody that's just like constantly telling lies, like, well, here's one of those other fucking lies, you know? Politicians, once you find out one of them is like a compulsive liar, all of them. But let's just use my favorite one. When are you ever going to trust that, Bill Clinton didn't have sexual relations with somebody? You're never going to trust him. Never, never. You're never going to get that back. So you have to hold on to that like it's your virginity. You do, because you're never going to get it back. Now, it may not be important to some people. It's a badge of honor for some of us. And remember, that's without your knowing. You might have said something like, well, yeah, go to that store. It's open on Sundays or whatever. And then you were like wrong. But like it was about, I looked it up. What happens if you are a practicing Catholic and you eat meat? You forget and you eat meat on Friday. And according to what I looked up, nothing happens to you. But if you know and you do it anyways, that's a problem. Not really a problem, but they consider it a problem. But if you didn't know, that's different, But if you intentionally, do something wrong or you intentionally lie to somebody, you probably shouldn't be trusted, man, Being a white male Republican dealing with all those lies they say about us. Well, there's shitty people no matter what part of life they are, And I'm going to say this. People are, I don't care who it is, they're trying to divide us. And people should be categorized by how they're brought up than what color their skin is or what country they come from. It really is, that is really the defining thing. I've hit it off with people that are from a completely different background, but they have the same kind of values that are put in by your parents and stuff. That's what we're really tied in. Not what color, how much melanin or what, is that what it's called? How dark your skin is, or what your features look like. But as I like to say, they're always trying to divide us. Like, you see that guy over there? He looks different than you. I don't think he likes you. I don't think you should like him. Why? I've never met him. Maybe they're great. The whole race thing is stupid, though. What race are you? Human. Right? Don't they call it the human race? What do you think? You're a fucking half-orc? Actually, half-orc isn't a race. That's half of a fucking race. Are you an elf? You a dwarf? What is this, D and fucking D? I saw something the other day. I don't know what it was in. And I was surprised how it was handled because that is how it should be handled. Yeah, working on the pickup truck here. Dirty Cooter, that's what it's called. What'd you call it? It's dirty. It's a redneck mobile. The rednecks. But I saw something the other day and it was like I don't know where it was. It must have been, I'd say it was in the mail, but it probably wasn't in the mail because I don't look at the mail. But it was a thing, what's your name, address, social security number, whatever it was. Sex, male, female, prefer not to say, and all the 70 other options that they didn't have 10 years ago to fill that one in. Which I think is ridiculous. But whatever. They have it on there. And then they had one for ethnicity. And the way it was worded is, what ethnicity do you consider yourself? Identify as. What ethnicity do you identify as? And I'm like, that's the first time I have seen that. I have never seen that at all, ever. And I'm like, that's how you should do it. That's how you should. Because I don't identify as Latino or Hispanic. I don't identify as Hispanic. I don't. Now, I went to Spain. I felt like it was my country. But that Hispanic category that gets put in the United States because there's so many of one group that supposedly is tied in together. Like, to give you an example, okay? To give you an example. And that's always been the case, I mean, fuck, I think in English. I mean, yeah, I can speak Spanish and flip back and forth. As a matter of fact, I spoke a lot of Spanish yesterday because I would never speak English to my mom because it'd be fucking weird, right? And my daughter went to Spain and it was really instrumental because, like, she didn't really want to speak Spanish at home with us because, well, it's not my wife's and my first language. My wife's like I am. She born here in the United States, immigrant parents. We can both speak both fluently. We just don't have an education in Spanish. I would say I probably have worse of an education in Spanish because I never lived in Miami or something like that. So I don't never went to school in it, something like that. I can read it. I can pronounce things correctly, but that's just from having conversation with my parents. But anyways, my daughter really didn't want to have anything to do with it because it's not really her tongue. And she spent 6 months in Spain and realized that she got to live in a country, and I hope this doesn't offend people, that wasn't a mess. Now, I don't want to live in Spain because I live in the United States. There's things that we take here for granted that you don't realize how granted we have them until you go and live in another country. But there's some things that I think in Spain work better than they do here. That's not the case in Mexico. There's only one thing, in my opinion, that I've encountered in the 20 or so times that I've been to Mexico that works better in Mexico than the United States. And that is, you can go and have a beer at the beach in a bottle and sit in the beach with a beer bottle and nobody freaks the fuck out, right? And I'm not going to throw it in the ocean. I'm going to go and dispose of it properly. But here, people would have a moo cow, So in that respect, there's a lot more freedom in that. Everything else is better in the United States. That doesn't mean, But in Spain, there's a lot of things that are better than the United States. Still don't want to live there. I could, I could live there, But she went there and spent 6 months and then realized it's almost like it was worth learning. I don't know. It put a spark in her, And I think it was a good thing. So now, when I go and do stuff like I went to Busch Gardens with her, I'll occasionally say things to her in Spanish. And it's kind of cool, but I've never considered myself Hispanic, because if you look on there, what's Hispanic? Okay, everybody from the Spanish-speaking countries in the New World and Spain, but not Portugal and not Brazil. I'm like, what? I'm like, so, yeah, I'm not buying that whole Hispanic thing, which is funny because Latino doesn't really bother me. I'm like, yeah, I like that thing, but so I like that. What do you identify as? Meat popsicle. That is a good name for a vehicle. It needs to look more. Less contained. Like your life is like hanging on by a thread. This looks too like safe to drive. So, anyways, that's that whatever it was that I came across was really interesting because I've never seen something worded that way. Like, look, if you fill out a chart and you need to and you allow people to identify as a unicorn, and you have to respect people for their unicorn choice, even though it's ridiculous. I identify as an elephant. Okay, well then we have to feed you peanuts and stuff like that. If you're going to do all that shit, then you should let people, what race do you identify as? I mean, obviously you have to have reasons. Like nobody's going to buy that I identify as somebody who's black. But I thought that was progress. But that Hispanic category didn't exist in the 60s. When my dad came to the United States, he wasn't Hispanic. There just weren't enough people that they wanted to put in that category to make a separate category, How the Latinos don't like Hispanic because it indicates relation to Spain. See, and somebody who's very proud of their Spanish heritage, I don't think the "he" in front of it says Spain. If it meant that to me, sure. Because basically, like, yeah, we're from the New World, but my great-grandfather came from Spain on both sides. So, I don't have any indigenousness in me that I know of. It's fine if I did, but I don't, I'm more likely to have Middle Eastern blood in me than indigenous blood. I don't know that I do. Probably do. We probably all do. I say this all the time. I said we're probably all some percentage of Jewish. There's nothing wrong with it. It just is. It makes sense. We all were, whatever humanity was, we were all more tight knit, and then we've, it makes sense. You hear all kinds of different things. I've seen these things that go off on like, this is the Americas, and this is America, the United States of America. So don't call yourself American if you're from the United States. I mean, I can tell you that if you tell somebody you're American anywhere, they know that you're from the United States of America. There's nobody in fucking Argentina calling themselves American. Okay? There isn't. Unless they're from the United States. I'm sorry, that's just what it is, And here's the thing. Argentina, Brazil, Bolivia, they're all countries in themselves that are in the Americas. The United States of America is in the fucking name, So it's just shorthand for, what are you? I'm United States of American. No, you just say you're American. Come on, folks, Two people in this side of history. Now, I'm also going to say, to show the politicians are all stupid. All of them. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they all have small penises and they're overcompensating for things. All of them. Some more than others. That whole renaming of the Gulf of America is retarded. That's not really fair to retarded people. It doesn't make any sense, right? Oh, we're going to go back to what it's called. You should call it the Gulf of New Spain. That's what you should fucking call it. Or whatever the Aztecs called it. Assuming they were aware of it. I'm sure that they were. Gulf of America, I'm never going to call it the Gulf of America. It's stupid. Oh, you just don't like Trump. It's got nothing to do with who came up with the name. Okay? I'm never going to call that mountain anything other than Mount McKinley. I don't care that they renamed it, that they have a version of the Chevy Suburban or the GMC that's called that name that starts with a D. I'm always going to call it Mount McKinley. Sorry. Oh, you're just not. I'm just who I am. It's Burma, goddammit. I'm not calling it whatever the M name is. You know? Keep it up, I'll start calling it Formosa. I'm not here to change shit, you know? Like, Calcutta, Madras, Bombay. I'm still calling it that. I've always said that they call us Americans because there's no good name for citizens. You're right. And we call ourselves that. It's not like, well, you just want to take over all the America. I'm like, it's in our fucking name. Call us something else. I could come up with much better names for this country than the United States of America. That's a little long-winded, right? What's up, Lee? How you doing over there, my friend? What part of the UK do you live in? You live in the England part or the Wales part or the... And I make this mistake all the time, right? I know I'm really good with geography, and I'm pretty damn good with history. And I know the difference between Wales, England, Britain, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, all of it. And I frequently say one when I mean something else. So, you know. I'm really good with maps. Even before Google Earth. I fucking love Google Earth. I love it. I wish it was live. I don't want to spy on people because I'm not nosy. But it's cool to see, like, what's over here. Like, I'll see some article about... There was this Russian cruiser that sank in the 70s. It's a Sverdlov-class Russian cruiser. That, I don't know if it's still standing, but it basically is just like, okay, leave that piece of shit there. And so I went and found it. So I go in there and, like, zoom in, or, like, let's see if I can find, you know, one of the propellers of the Tirpitz or the Prince Eugen. I like to look at shit like that. It's cool. You know, it's... that's why I don't give a shit about the stars. Earth is so fucking cool, you know? There's so much cool stuff that happens here, and we haven't even touched the oceans, really. There's so much we don't know. Like, I'm not like, oh, I'm interested in this galaxy that's 1,500 light years away. You don't have a freaking clue what's the neighborhood next door. Why are you worried about that galaxy, you know? So I freaking love maps. Frank Lloyd Wright came up with a name. No. You think Gulf of America? Well, I don't like it because you're changing it, and it's been fine forever. That's why I don't like it. You know what? Why? You know? You overcompensating for something? I don't know. I heard that the whole reason is like they said, well, you will never be able to drill in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, we'll just fucking rename the thing, and then we can drill in it. Well, that's dancing around the problem. How about you just drill anyways and say fuck it, you know? If that's what it is. I don't like renaming stuff. It's just, you know, it's trying to cater to people, and it's like, how about you just deal with it? Doesn't really matter. You can call it whatever you want in your language, you know? The body of water doesn't care. The fishies don't care. This is looking a lot better, by the way. I was looking really bad. I took a picture of it before so you can compare. There's nothing worse in a creator than not being happy with your creation. That's really steals. It's such a rare event for me, but it's already happened twice this year. I think another thing that was an issue is there was this light gray stripe across this that was running interference. A lot of it was like color interference. It was going in so many different directions that it just looked like a shit show. So I want to put these little shadows in here because there's creases that this metal has that need to be able to be seen, that you would notice with a naked eye. But when it's this small, it kind of gets lost in translation. Kevin, you ever watched any of those shows that do any of the die-cast stuff? Like either 3D Bot Maker or Junkyard Joust? And I think there's a couple other ones. Those are my two favorite ones. So today I'm supposed to I was planning on going to about a 2-hour trip to this flea market that has a store that has tons of these. Not that I need any, because I have hundreds. I literally have hundreds. But I just feel like going window shopping, you know? So, and I'm going to try to take a video in there. It won't be live, so it'll be, but hopefully we'll have it up. It's a cool store. And I wasn't able to really go to it last time I found it because the guy literally closed up shop in front of me. He like asked me, I said, are you going to be here all day? He said, oh yeah, I'll be here till, well, normally we're here till 4, but I got to leave at 12:30. I'm like, it's 12:15. And the guy's like, oh, okay, I'm closing up shop now. I'm like, thanks for nothing. So that was back in September. So I never got anything in his shop, and he literally has fucking everything. Now, they may be at prices I don't want to pay because I don't want to collect anything. They're to be modified, you know. They're to be modified, but I don't believe in buying things and just storing them. Like people that buy guns, oh, I just collect them. Do you shoot them? No. Okay, then why buy them? You collect cars and not drive them? I mean, you know, I'm not saying you should not take care of things, but you know, I buy clothes and don't wear them. Like, I don't get that, you know. This is probably the thing that most people wouldn't be able to handle. Why are you taking too long doing them drippings? I said, this is one of the things I like the most. All right. I don't think I'm done yet, but I'm well on my way. So let me show you a double take. Let me look at this photo that I took of it before I was not happy with it. And you guys may like it, and that's fair, you know, but that's not going to keep me coming back for more. Okay, we took it like that. It actually doesn't look that bad now that I look at it. It's just not what I was expecting. And we still don't have the missiles painted. Well, there's like an olive drab base color of the missiles. It was too wet when I was doing it. Great. Let's botar eso a la basura. We need to zoom in more so that they're equivalently the same size on the picture. Oh, let's kill this. That's also, so that's equivalent. All right. They're close. So this is what it looked like before. Let's kill this. That's what it looked like before. Man, it's so damn glary. It's kickback. That's what I call it. I use my own terms for all these things. No, I'm trying to focus on the hood. Let's see. You'd be like that. No, it's too bright. No. Like that. I think that's probably a little bit better. Not really. You watch the restores. Yeah, some of that stuff's amazing. The English used to call us Yanks or colonies. Yeah. Yanks is somebody from up north that's a dickhead. So look at the hood. I don't know if this is a representative picture. Here, let's zoom in on it. It's pink paint, like it's a splatter. Okay, it's running interference with it. It doesn't. It's not like it just didn't look right. And honestly, the way I saw the pink paint, I'm like, okay, it's a redneck girl, right? It's some redneck girl. That's why I called this thing Dirty Cooter. Because it's going to be dirty. And it just is not... It was creating too much noise. So when I took a picture of this truck from the front, I really liked the way the truck looked. I really liked that it looked like this. Because I can't see... God, this auto... I really liked the way that it looked because that pink wasn't running interference. So what I did is I just got rid of the pink. And I think it's better now. I don't love it. But it's better. And I don't want it to look like it's rust. But I also don't want to add thickness to it. So I think it's better. Yeah. Well, everything I do, I like for it to be a play on words and be, edgy. That's just my take on this, So it's got a lot of lights on it. Yeah, it looks okay. It looks okay. All right. I'm going to go to the little boy's room, and I'll be right back, and we'll paint some missiles. Be right back. The place opens at 9, but I'm not going to leave you yet until it's light out. I don't like to drive at night in the dark. There's too many recaps and shit like that on the road. And it's not like I need to get there early. So I got about an hour in me. I don't want to leave too late because it's like spring break traffic, so it's probably going to be, we'll find a book on tape or something to listen to. So no sun glare with flat black. They did that with World War II planes. Well, I can't have every vehicle flat black. I have a few, and they're okay, Got one of my British vehicles that's flat black. Ramrat. Have you seen Ramrat? I know you like cars. I know you like cars. I mean, I like cars. And I like cars that I would never drive. Like, I would never drive a muscle car. They just don't handle worth a shit. Some of them look awesome, you know, but I'm not a muscle car person. Like in real life. I don't like Ramrat. It's a mix. Okay, I better close this or I'm going to clip this and we could knock this thing down. There we go. Ramrat is what they call an Erikenstein rod. And it was like in a really dark navy blue with like orange writings. It was almost like University of Auburn colors. Something like that. And I don't dislike the vehicle per se. It's just a little boring when it's all like monochrome like this. Hey, Tonky! Tony the Honky. Tonky. I had a lot of Tonka trucks when I was a kid. Big die-cast things. You know, they had those big, heavy toys when you were a kid. Like if they brought some play, hey, I want you to play with Little Johnny, and you didn't like Little Johnny, you could take that Tonka toy and hit him upside the fucking head. And not that I did something like that, but we had stuff that could hurt people back then. That's what gave us thick skin. So it's just boring. That's all. So this is probably, most people would agree, this is the kind of vehicles they like to see for Gaslands. But they can't all look like this because then it's like not very exciting. Now, the gas hole is one of my favorite vehicles. And it's also damn near black. But it's got some drippings and there's some metal and there's some blood-looking stuff that's on it. We got a skull on the front there. You know, Flammenwerfer up, you know. What else do we have that's black? Muerte Rolante. Rolling Death. This is for my my Mexican lowrider team. And I didn't glue this down on purpose, right? So when it's pointing at somebody differently, you can adjust that. Take a photo. All we did is we added a ram to that, a machine gun up here, and this thing in the back, and just weathered it. Why would I want to cover that up? It's cool. You know? What else we got that's black? One of the first ones I did was Schadenfreude. And this one already came with that green stripe. It's a black Porsche. It was already black. It was already had a green stripe on it. That one's been in a couple of battles. I like the way Porsches look. I'll never be able to afford one, and they don't drive worth a shit in racing games. Their weight seems to shift dramatically when you slow down. I guess, does this qualify as a black vehicle? Crimson Cuervo? The Ford Ranchero. This is a cool vehicle. Like, I wouldn't drive something like this because this is like station wagon-ish. But this thing's badass. It already had all those stripes on it. Like, why would I cover that over and repaint it? It's beautiful. I mean, it would take me an age to repaint that. Oh, you're just thinking black hoods? Yeah, that looks okay on different vehicles, but I see those a lot on Subaru Outbacks. Subaru Outbacks have a black hood. You know, all my German named cars are kind of are insultish names. I think I probably need to make a German car. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be Scheichkopf. I gotta have to have one of those. I have to have a Schwarzkopf. It won't be that Volkswagen van. Probably be some pretentious person in a Mercedes or something like that. Okay. Rockets. So I didn't want to have, when I had all that pink stuff, we like have too many different colors screaming at you. So I just used olive drab, the World War II olive drab, like the one that's really brown, as the base color. I couldn't keep lightening it up, but I think I need to add a little bit of green to it, just a little bit of green to give it some, just to give it some kind of interest. The silver planes of World War II would paint the front of the cockpit green and black, so it'd be like, you're right. They do. Now that I think about it, P-51, you always have the top of the P-51. You know, a silver P-51 would have that top. It looks good. I love Normandy. Normandy invasion stripes are beautiful. Yeah, it's a little too dark. That's German. That's a German camouflage color, isn't it? Yeah. Something a little bit less. Yeah, this reflective green should be okay. Yeah. It's going to be one of those things. All right, pray for me. That should be enough. All right, brush that's not too large, and lay black. I make the missile tips in a different color. Now this missile system is on my other vehicle that has it, called the Flaming Tosser. You do know what that means, don't you? Of course. Why would I name it that way and not know what that means? And it's mainly, it throws Molotov cocktails. So, it has the missiles. It has that same missile system up there. Yeah, I think I've only used this thing once. And it has all these like little like, it's like a carnival car that you like, it's ring toss on it. But I painted the tips on it. That's Molotov cocktails that they throw. He's got a bunch of them. I think he's got like 20 or 30 or something ridiculous. Heavy machine gun and a missile. I guess it's similar to this one. Maybe. I don't want to paint the missiles the same. These are gray because the gray goes better with that. I think we're going to use like a green color with this. I keep grabbing it. I guess I should move this over here. So I've talked myself into going to the flea market. Don't need to buy anything. Although I wouldn't mind finding the cop car from. Although I have a lot of police vehicles, and it goes really expensive. I want to get that cop car from Live and Let Die. You know, the one that has whatever that guy. And boy, how fast you going in? You know that. I think that would be, but I'm not paying $15-20 for it or whatever. Like I don't need it that bad. So. I need to get out in public. I left the house yesterday to go visit my mom. You know, who lives. She used to live 7 doors down from us, but we moved from that town. I moved into the town that I work in and always have worked in, well, for 30-something years. So it's not like it's that far or anything, but I was sitting indoors too long. I needed to get out. You know, the wife's been away for a week, and I don't mind her being gone, but sometimes I feel like, man, I need to do something more worthy when she's gone, because it's like I'm just kind of wasting opportunities of being alone by just doing the same stuff that I would do if she was here. Now, the reality is she doesn't really keep me from doing anything. So it's not like, celebrate my freedom. I'm like, I got my freedom all the time anyways. I just don't have to consider her what she's doing to work that into. Now, one thing I don't ever do by myself, hardly ever, is watch television. It is something that I watch with my daughter or the wife if she's here. But my wife is a great person, but she's very difficult, and she admits it, about watching television. Because, she can handle comedy. She's not going to watch any cool guy movie stuff. Wife's not going to watch guy movie stuff. The daughter will. The daughter's actually really good about movies. She'll do both things. But, wife's not going to watch any like war movies or anything that's violent or thriller or anything like that. There was a movie that we watched, so it's pretty much comedy. There's a movie that we started watching that's been out for a couple of years, and it's a really weird movie. It didn't have really good reviews. It's a comedy movie, and we stopped watching it after 30 minutes because it was a little too I don't know if it was raunchy, because we can handle watching raunchy things, but it was just kind of weird. And I was flipping the channels on Netflix, and I realized, oh, we didn't ever finish watching that. So I started watching some of it alone, and it's a movie that's just really weird. Everybody's in it. Everybody. It's almost like a Saturday Night Live skit. There's a bunch of little skits, and the movie's called Movie 43, and it's just stupid humor and stuff in it. And I watched another 30 minutes of it, and I got to this part that was so funny. I called my wife and let her listen to the audio, because I literally almost peed myself. It was so damn funny, so to speak. I'm not that incontinent yet. The AFX police car is popular. And there's this one scene. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But if you watch it, and it's just a series of clips, and some of them are ridiculous. I think the whole movie was an excuse for people to do, because everybody in it you've seen, to do little vignettes. It's a series of vignettes, and like a variety show almost. And there's one that involves a supermarket, and you should watch it. It's short. It is funny. There's a cashier and a girl that come in, and apparently they've had a previous relationship, and they're like hitting on each other in a very vocal way, and the microphone is on, and they don't know it, and everybody in the grocery store hears what they're saying. And one of the customers comes up to the microphone and says, "You mind if I do this?" And then they say something. What they say is absolutely hilarious. I need to remember. And I'm not going to repeat it to you. Not because I can't say that on my channel, because I say fucking everything. All right? It's just, I don't want to spoil it. You need to watch it. It's really funny. Yeah. It's a stupid movie. It's like a Kentucky Fried Movie type of movie. Okay? I didn't watch Kentucky Fried Movie, but I clicked on it. I'm like, yeah, it's that kind of stupid. I think that the people that put it together did like Dumb and Dumber, and it's humor. That scene is that was what that guy says is just, I literally called my wife. I said, "You awake?" Yeah. I said, "Remember this movie we didn't finish watching?" So she didn't remember that scene. I think we got to the beginning of that scene and we turned it off because it was like, it was like late, and that was funny. Anyways, it's raunchy, racy. It's not as bad as Sausage Party. We tried watching Sausage Party and couldn't get through it, and I don't know why. Probably because it was too much. Probably had too many drugs in it. Had Seth Rogen's in that, so he's one of the boys who guaranteed he's pushing pot. That guy can't go to the bathroom without pushing pot. Yeah, that one scene is just. It's about an hour in. Just fast we go. Oh, this looks like it happens at a grocery store. Watch that. That scene that guy says on the microphone. That's for the ages. But it's stupid. It's totally stupid. Did I have any ideas? No, you sent that to me when I was out, and I haven't gotten a chance to look at it. How about we do that now? Besides, I like to talk about stuff. I don't like to type things back to people. It just takes too long. You know? I don't want to keep information to myself. I'm fine sharing and looking things up. I just don't want to be tortured by having to write a paper. Does that make sense? All right, so let's see what you sent me. Let's take a good look at what you sent me. All right. First of all, I thought the water looked pretty good. Well, first of all, I like this photo. I think that looks pretty good. And looks pretty reasonable. I mean, that's green, but city of what? Erie. City of Erie. Okay, let's see. Surveillance information might go with some very muted greens, attached reds and whites. No idea if that's accurate, but it should be differentiating quite a bit. Okay, so you've got like... Well, one thing that's really common is a dark hull. Because if you have like rust and stuff... Oh, you're welcome. And I like doing stuff like this, by the way. I love looking things up. Dark hulls are almost always the case. Because it's like, if it's a light hull, it looks rusty, it's like, people aren't going to want to ship things with us if we have like a rusty hull, and stuff like that. So, dark hulls, dark greens, blacks. Blacks are really common. Black hulls. These are tumbling dice. Man, these ships look pretty good. Like, I mean, they've got just enough mast on them, and they look like the mast are reasonably sturdy. So you got 6 civvies. Where did I find this article? You got Jane's, don't you? I'm sure you've already looked at this article. I said early 1900s civilian ship colors. Early 1900s civilian ships, particularly steam-powered merchant vessels and passenger liners, were commonly plated with black holes and white or buff-colored superstructures. But I wouldn't paint them all the same. I'd paint none of those 6 ships would look different, would look the same as the other one. They could be similar, but they wouldn't look the same. One thing that was really common was to paint the funnel a certain color, and then there'd be a certain number of stripes, or maybe the logo with a shipping company on it would be something like that. The primary reason for black holes was to hide the heavy soot and coal dust generated by coal-burning engines. Common color schemes, early 1900s, holes almost universally black or dark gray in the early 1900s to disguise coal dust and soot. Superstructures, white, cream, or light gray was used to minimize heat in accommodation areas, especially on vessels traveling to warmer climates. Funnels, often painted in company-specific branding colors, black, white, red, buff, or yellow. Underwater, well, you're not making any sinking ones. Ventilators, typically white or cream with red or buff interiors. Key factors influencing colors. Coal power. Because of refueling with coal was exceptionally messy, black paint was the most practical choice to hide the grime. And to make sure that you never cleaned the fucking thing, because you didn't know how dirty it was. You know? Climate. White paint was preferred for luxury liners and ships in tropical service to reflect sunlight and keep passenger cabins cooler. Transition to oil. Well, all of your ships are going to be coal-powered. As the 1900s progressed and ships transitioned from coal to liquid fuel, the necessity for black holes diminished, allowing for more white paint. Key differences by type. Merchant ships prioritized practicality, often staying all black or black and white for the entire life of the ship. I've never seen a vessel that's all black, ever. And as a matter of fact, the only vessels that are considered all black are like German destroyers from World War One. And I would never paint a German destroyer all black. It looks stupid. I don't care if they did it. It looks dumb as hell. The World War One Germans did things that I would never do. Like, they would paint, like some of their World War One cruisers, if they were like the leader of a flotilla, they would paint like the back funnel. If it had like 3 funnels, they'd paint the back funnel in like a bright color like red. You know, so I'm not doing that. It looks stupid. It doesn't look believable. Merchant ships prioritize practicality, often staying all black or white, or black and white for the entire life of the ship. Passenger liners often featured more elaborate schemes, including buff-colored funnels and white topworks to signify luxury. Okay, this is about sailing ships. Like, this is a really typical color scheme. Red funnel, black top, white upper works, black hull. Okay, so that can be one of your vessels. But I wouldn't want all of them to be like that. You know? Here's another one. Same thing, except ochre funnels. I hate this paint scheme, by the way. Damn near Whitehall ochre upper works ochre funnels. It's ugly as fuck. Sorry. The Russians use that sometimes. Americans, that's the Great White Fleet, don't like it. Certainly wouldn't paint a whole bunch of ships like that. You got cargo vessels. Almost all of them probably should have a dark hull. All of them. And using a dark green is totally, what is this? Marine colors from Floqual. Color chip chart for classic colors of the 18th and 19th century. Now, yeah, so I guess it doesn't tell you how late it is. This might be like sailing ships. But if you look at some of the colors they have here, in particular cap rail green and midship blue, they're very dark colors. Yeah, the most common one was like dark hull, white or really light upperworks, and then the funnel's either red or ochre. The Japanese, I think, are the only ones, by the way, that I've ever seen them painted like this. Here's a picture of Mikasa. And that is a black funnel with white stripes. I've never seen a black funnel with white stripes. And it looks good because it almost looks like, well, is that maybe like a Japanese character? Or similarity to a Japanese character? Mikasa. Mikasa is Sukasa. I actually like that. Here's an ocean liner. Here's something you could do. I'm not saying you have any ocean liners, but you have a dark hull, white upperworks, an ochre funnel, and in the middle of the ochre funnel you have a white stripe with a green on both sides of the white. You found those paint charts the other day and forgot about them. It's not very useful. It just tells you like, oh, if we're going to paint it green, it's got to be a really dark green, or really dark blue. That kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean stuff like that. I'd vary it. So I don't know how many. Maybe do one with a black hull, one with a dark blue one with a dark green one. Maybe the dark green one has an ochre funnel. Maybe the dark blue one has a red funnel with a white stripe on it. Maybe just make them different. I don't know about the paddle wheelers. You got some paddle wheelers there. Yeah, that's actually how I would paint my Japanese. I paint my Japanese dark, and I paint my Russians lighter. Because like a lot of the ships that were in Port Arthur, I want to say they were like that paint scheme I don't like. I think, if I remember correctly, they were like basically like all white, like ochre funnels. And there's some Japanese ships that were also painted that way. I wouldn't paint any Japanese ships that way. Like, forget it. I wouldn't paint any Russian or Japanese ships with the black hull, white upperworks, and red funnels. That or ochre funnels. That would be reserved for the British. Because the British generally painted most of their ships during that time period in that way. I wouldn't want somebody else to have British-like paint schemes, British gets first dibs. They got the biggest navy like by a long shot. So like I'd like look ahead. All right, like if I did French, what would most of the ships be painted like, and not do any Russian ships that way, and not do any Japanese ships that way. So I'd like work it backwards, and then maybe you can find a middle ground where it kind of pleases everybody, you know. But I like that scheme for the Japanese. It's cool. Now, if you look at pictures for all the other Japanese ships, there might be like, oh, well, Mikasa only looks that way. None of the other ones look that way. So at a quick glance at the battlefield, you can see where the Russians are. You can see where the Japanese are. You know, you don't want a situation where it's like, okay, is that a T-34 or a Sherman? Like they're kind of the same color, kind of, right? You want some differentiation between the sides. Or I would. You may not want that, but yeah, that white and ochre is a bit odd. Did they use ochre to make it look wooden for some reason? You probably, I don't know, but that's probably a really good deduction. I'd say you're right. I'd say you're right on that. That seems reasonable. Like, oh, we wanted to make it look like old times, you know. All right, so they did that. That green is just dying. I don't think I have another reflective green. That one needs to be thrown the fuck away. I'm really bad about throwing away paints though. I'll keep things that I shouldn't keep, that most people wouldn't keep. This one's almost the same color. We use this one, yellow, olive. But that's how I would look at it. You know, because like if I'm doing pre-dreadnoughts, I'm not just doing Russians, and you might one day want to do a different nation. So you want to make sure you've got enough rope to hang yourself. Maybe that's not the right saying, but I'd want to like think, okay, well maybe might want a British ship or two. Well, how would I paint those? Well, in the traditional British manner. Oh crap, I can't do that. Why? Well, because I'm already doing my Japanese that way, like. But I don't think anybody used all black funnels, and it doesn't look. It looks good. It's not like, well, it's no wonder because it looks stupid. I don't think so. I think it looks good. I need to buy a white that's not. Doesn't have a top that's fucked. I really don't know what happened. At some point, I lost this top, and I've never found it. And I don't want to just grab a top from something else because it's white, so it could alter the color of this. Also why slightly different watercolors to help. Okay, so the Russians are in one color and the Japanese are in a different color? Is that what you were talking about, the different color? That makes sense, You settled on what rules you're going to use? Just come on over later this afternoon and we'll run a game of Sea Creek 4 with them, see if you like that. It's just a short jaunt from your place to mine. I would totally use Sea Creek 4 and then just modify it as I needed to. Like, to add more detail, I think everything is there that has everything going in the right direction. I think everything is there. And then it is easy enough to run. It has enough detail. And it's easy enough to add stuff to it to not have repercussions that get exponentially out of control. Like, for instance, let's say you wanted to take something and modify DBA. Maybe DBA is a bad example because we're all pretty familiar with DBA and we know what we wouldn't touch, that what we could touch that it wouldn't have compounding effects. But if you had like a game system that, for instance, used something like 2d6, right? When you're rolling 2d6 for something, that's a nightmare to try to screw with because, a +1 can have various degrees of how much that represents depending on what you're adding the +1 to. Like if you're adding it to a 6, it's a bigger difference than if you're making it between an 11 and a 12 kind of thing, Siegfried being percentile makes it super easy to, what are the odds of hitting something? Well, what are you rolling for? It's like super easy. It would be really easy, for instance, in Siegfried to add something like turning radius, right? Like big ships that are slower can't turn as much. Super easy to add something in it. The game doesn't add that, but it'd be super easy to add that. Like you can't do more than, you can't turn more than 30 degrees or something in each time you turn, or 15 or something like that. Super easy to add something like that. Siegfried 4 is also you travel a reasonable amount of time visually from one turn to the next. So, 2400 scale ship, they're about this long, and if they're moving 16 knots, they'll move from here to about here every turn. So it's like you can see visually where they go. I know we used to play on an 8x8 table, and we'd start in the corners, and we did this one battle in the Mediterranean with like a big Italian fleet and a big British fleet. Basically, big meaning a couple battle wagons, handful of cruisers, and destroyers along with it. And we started in the corner, and my buddy Jeff and I, this particular battle was very memorable. We each had a Giulio Cesare type battleship. I don't think, and we each had like a pair of heavy cruisers or something like that and some destroyers. We literally split the force in half, and we started in this corner. Let's use this corner. We started maybe in this corner, and the enemy was in the opposite corner. And one of us went down this row, and the other one went down this row. By the end of the game, I was here, and he was here, and we were, shelling towards it. It was cool because you got, generally, you got to see how things progressed. So it was really cool. It's not one of those that you hardly move at all, or that you move too much in between turns. I think that it's about right. It's about right. And when you're playing with 1/2400 scale ships, I always felt they didn't seem like they were too large. I've seen people play Siegfried with 1200 scale ships. It looks off. It looks off. 1/2400 is right. I mean, the game should look better with 1/6000, but there aren't that many. They don't even make pre-dreadnoughts in 1/6000. Now I have some. I have the whole, and I don't know where they are. I have the whole Turkish and Russian Black Sea fleet from World War One. Only painted one ship out of all of them, but I didn't like the water thing on the destroyers. The water's too. It's almost as high as a destroyer, which may be realistic, but it's not the look I wanted. So I got discouraged by that. So yeah, I guess I'd have to do 1/2400, but anyways, whatever the hell I was saying. I think that it's natural. The same way I look at 3 tanks, and I go, oh, that's a company, because that's gear. I'm used to looking at 1/2400 scale ships with Siegfried and kind of visualize, like, you see this far and go, oh, okay, that's cruiser range, or destroyers fire that far, that kind. And I'm used to it. It makes sense to me. I've done it so long. It's kind of the standard. Now I want to paint the little gun shield on this machine gun, which it doesn't need a gun shield because it's not protecting anybody, right? There's nobody here. I think I'm going to paint it in the same color. Part of it is me being lazy. Part of it is it just gives a little spot of color where there isn't any. And they just, lifted this from some military vehicle. That's why I'm using Secret 4. Is this free or I did a good job of promoting it? I don't know. We had many years of playing it, I got Secret 5. It's overwhelming for me to do. I mean, I'd have to, somebody would have to walk me through it. I'm sure it's totally handleable. I could totally handle it. It's just, it's a big hill to climb, And the only thing I dislike about it is you got to buy the ship data separately. And I don't think that they did that for nefarious purposes. I think they did it because there was so much of it to do and they wanted to get the game out. And there's no way they're going to okay, well, the game's ready now in 2005. That's when it came out, I think. And we're not going to have the ship data for Argentinian ships done for 10 years or 8 years or whatever, because we've got other things more important to do. So they didn't want to hold out the game for that much longer. I think that's the case. I know the guys that come up with that with the game. That's not why I play it. It just happened to be. Actually, they run it at convention every time. I just don't play it at the convention because I don't want to play an unfinished game. They're gonna do a scenario that's just gonna last 9 hours and they only have a 4-hour session to do it in. I don't even want to play with that. Not sure when I'll get to play, but yeah, you certainly help sell. It makes sense. It makes sense. The game makes sense. The way it's laid out, that's what I'm used to doing. And then I get this DBA game, I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, I'm like, the fuck? I mean, I'm used to percentile and things that make sense and, okay, improve one more chance to hit, not like a die 6 and compare it. And, it's a Tuesday, but there's a full moon, so it's this. But wait a second. There was, I had a hamburger yesterday, so it's not that. But wait, did the hamburger have cheese? Yes. Aha! Then that goes, it's like, it's a mind fuck. You read, and Phil's brilliant, okay? Phil is brilliant. But it makes me feel fucking stupid, And I'm not new to gaming. I'm new to this abstract if-then statement type thing, I'm not used to that. I'm used to percentile. Things are what they are, One thing I'd probably add to Seekrieg, if I did Seekrieg 4, is do a die roll in there where it varies your penetration a little bit. A little bit. Maybe not even 10%, but just a little bit. I'd be willing to try. I mean, obviously, I'd have to replay it again, but so it's not like a set penetration every time. I can't think. Even advanced squad leader. Advanced squad leader is really difficult. It's multifaceted. I don't think it's really difficult. The difficult thing about squad leader is having to wrap your head around the 2d6 system. That bell curve shit. But advanced squad leader, it makes sense. I've played it and couldn't come up with an answer. So we well, I guess it's probably this, and then eventually found it later, and we were right. You do that in DBA, you're gonna get it wrong. You're gonna get it wrong every time. Oh, it's probably this. It wasn't that. It was something totally different because it's abstract. Now, with that said, I've played DBA more than any other game. It's still the hardest game I've ever played. I'm not an abstract thinker. That's because you're not creative. No? Is that one of those things that creativity and abstract thinking go together? I'm very creative. I don't like things that don't make any fucking sense. Is Phil Barker naval rules? Oh no. Fuck that shit. No. The worst thing about DBA, okay? The absolute worst thing about DBA, is that you have to go into combat like this. That you can't combat like this. That you can't combat like that. That's the worst thing about DBA. It's the most annoying thing. It's representing something that's not real. And to do that with ships now? No. No, ain't doing that. That's the worst thing about DBA. Just before I stopped doing DBA altogether, I was coming up with some house rules to get around that. It wouldn't have been called DBA, but obviously it'd still be DBA. And we were being fairly successful at it. The only thing that happened is that we were trying to play test it, and people were like, we want you to play this game, and we were doing it with like a third person, right? And then it would be there. It's like, cool. So next time they weren't there. So we would advance and we'd try something different, Mitch and I. And then somebody, we couldn't, the other people that were the wild cards couldn't commit to whether or not they were going to be there a lot. Or like, you know, we're going to play test this, and at the last minute, 4 other people wanted to show up. And like, okay, well, we can't do that. So it was just annoying for me to like, we're planning on doing this and we couldn't do it because people just wouldn't tell us whether or not they were coming. And I'm like, I can't fucking do this, man. I'm going fucking crazy, you know? 3,000, 1,200 for pre-dreadnought nuts, cruiser or smaller ship actions, 6,000 for larger. Well, I would like to do 6,000 only because it's more in scale with a ship. Now, the scale that Sea Krieg is, a battleship is would be a third of an inch long. So 6,000 scale is still 3 times too big or so, you know. But at least it's closer. You know, but if you do like the Battle of Narvik in Sea Krieg scale, it's only like this wide. Like, you can't do that. You know, Savo Island is this big. I had a little felt thing cut out of Savo Island. Savo Island is this big. That's pretty fucking small, you know. But I think the game scale is it has a lot going for it, you know. And Sea Krieg 5 uses the same scale, so that's good. You know, inch equals 500 yards. All right, what color are you putting the missile tips? Let me disassociate the brightness of that over there. If I do red, I think it's going to be too loud. I could do white. I could do pink. All right, let's use AI. Let's see if this even works. Okay. This is what AI should be used for, not like making fake videos and then nobody believes any video they see, which is where I fall into. Like, I don't know what's going on in the world and I don't care. Why is somebody looking up Masonic temple history? Okay, we have a shared account. I can tell you it's not me. Yeah, let's put this in the Gaslands folder. We're going to add a photo. Select it. Okay, on this photo is change the color of the tips of the missile to pink. And let's see how it looks. Because that's a problem with this vehicle is it's too noisy. And it's funny because something like this that's too noisy, this is very noisy, but it works. But this one, that pink splatter, just didn't work. Let's see if this may not work. It might not recognize what the tips of the missiles is. Maybe it will. It's smarter than you think it is. Okay, well this is what I got. So let's take the back fin. Pink doesn't work. Okay? I know this is really loud pink. It doesn't work. Okay? So we need to, nope, not that, nope. No, I don't want to branch off that one. I want to branch off the first one. Did they give me the option for that? Red's kind of boring. Blue, not introducing blue. Yellow might be okay. Yellow might be all right. Let's do yellow. WGR was too much detail for some, And what we were doing is, DBA, you spend too much time of the game trying to conform, and like the actual battle effects are too quick. I think it should be backwards. I think it should be to improve it. I think it's like you run into a unit, like that's where they fight. Like generally, you shouldn't rack your brain trying to fight. It's like in real life, that's what they did. It's like, okay, see those guys there, pin them down or go attack them or something like that. Not like, well, you can't attack this way and I know it's trying to visualize something else, but that's the problem that most people have with the game. Medium flesh tone. Okay, I'm only going to put the missile tips, I think, in this color. Black nose and... Can I be honest with you, Kevin? I've never played it. Do the people that play Warhammer, are they extra fucking weird? Because it sure seems like it. Like, let me give you guys an example. People that play war games versus role-playing games. People that play role-playing games might be more fun, but they're a lot fucking weirder. There's some people that play war games, not necessarily our group, that are just like, these fuckers don't know how to have fun. That's why I don't play with them. But I've walked by people that are role-playing, I'm like, I don't want to talk to these people. They're fucking weird, man. It's not about being a nerd, okay? We're all nerdy to some degree or another. It's like, somebody should have bullied you to not turn into that kind of thing, Weird fucking people. And some of them are female, too. It's like, there's some strange girls. I'm going to paint just the tips yellow, and then we'll do light gray for this one bracket in the middle, and then the fins. The fins don't need to be that loud. I think this will work. No? My daughter won't go to a game store. If we're somewhere like, I'm going to go get paint, it's like, I'm staying in the car. Like, why? I said, Dad, those guys are weird. Good. I don't want you with them. And I gotta have a proper breakfast and then leave too. Can't just grab something on the road. Hey, it's Sunday. Chick-fil-A's not open. Those breakfasts are good. I'll tell you what Chick-fil-A can't fucking do is coffee. That is the worst coffee I've ever had in my entire life. I made a mistake of doing that one time. Okay, that looks okay. That looks all right. Now we're going to add a little bit of, oh, this shit again. I need to buy a white. $40K has really taken over here, almost nothing else. I don't like the lore, you know? It just doesn't interest me. It's like if you had to play Gaslands, and you had to play Gaslands with the teams that the game has, and you weren't allowed to create your own world, I wouldn't play it. I don't like the storyline. You know, I think the game is good. I don't like this Verney and Inferno and, you know, Rutherford or, you know, I don't like it. I wouldn't play the game. I wouldn't like 40K because we're going to change the rules completely every 3 years, and you got to buy new shit. Like I'm out of that. I don't play keeping up with the Joneses. You know, and that's just not. You know, I paint really slow, and if you know by the time I would have a unit done, like we don't play that way. We can't use that unit anymore. Like that's not compatible with me. Like that's not compatible. Regardless of anything else. Believe it or not, I think I'm going to leave the fins black. I think that looks all right. And we need to highlight them some, but... a second. Read this. Captain Cretan, yeah. Do you ever write your own scenarios? If so, where do you get your inspiration from? I haven't done scenarios yet. I'm still building out the forces, but I probably will have... I'll tell you one thing that's really good, and I hate to promote it. AI. I think AI has its place. And I think the place for AI is to, how could I say, analysis paralysis, get you to like put thought, like brainstorming. It's really good for brainstorming. Like for instance, in Gaslands, right? Assuming you're talking about Gaslands. I entered, give me some scenarios for Gasland's ideas. And one of the things that spit out is, okay, one of my teams, Boombox Carnage, is basically like an urban group, urban gangsters, have to take this big boombox to a concert. And then the rednecks have to basically intercept it. Like, it came up with it on its own. It gave you, like, a bunch of other scenarios. Like, the problem with scenarios is, the only problem with scenarios is that if you're going to try them the first time you try them, the game isn't going to be balanced because you've never played it before. And it's something that may be an issue for you, or it may not be. I don't think it's an issue for us because as a general rule, everybody fucking dies. It's a happy ending. Everyone dies, But yeah, I think that AI is useful. I think the game is good. I just don't like I don't like that whole everybody's not on Mars. The only people on Earth are these people that fight. It's just like it just doesn't. I don't get in with it. It's just like if I like the mechanics of Warhammer 40K, which I don't think I would, because I don't like guys that are this tall that only shoot this far. Like, okay, that's like even worse than BattleTech, right? It's too condensed. But assuming that I like that, I don't necessarily like the universe. I'd probably like Warhammer Fantasy more than Warhammer Science Fiction. I have a hard time buying something in the future, but yet things are more inaccurate than they are now. Like weapons should be more accurate, not less accurate. But I haven't done any scenarios yet, but we probably will. I'm just, you know, contrary to most people, I'm going to speak for most people. Most people prefer to play the game. I have lots of venues that I can play a game in. I can play on the Xbox, I can play face to face. If I wanted to play a game face to face, I'd go over on Tuesdays. I don't. I don't need to play that much. I need to play I need to do this. This is my therapy. Playing games is not my therapy. And it's not that I don't enjoy playing games. I do. But, you know, sometimes things can be too much trouble. And I've just gotten to the point where, my free time, I don't really want to experience any hardship while I'm doing my hobby. So, I don't game on Tuesdays anymore. It's too much of a rush for me, and I have to work the next day. I've worked all day and I have to work the next day. Especially if you're gaming with people that are like retired. No, not knocking retired people, right? They earned it, but I'm jumping through flaming hoops. You can at least make it so it's easy for me. Especially when I'm doing all the creating. And I'm not complaining about creating everything. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things that keeps me going. Was thinking about World War II skirmish games. Didn't you try AI? It depends on what kind of a level of a skirmish. I think that what I like is not a skirmish game, but a vignette. What works really well is run the game and you play one side. Because there's nothing worse than having an unfinished game and like, okay, I need to tell you something, Game Master. Can you Germans please leave? Because I need to explain this to the Game Master and see if I can do that. What are they doing? They left the game. They're out of the mindset. It creates apathy. Like, I don't care what happened. My guys don't come on for 4 hours. I'm going to go grab something to eat. It's just like you're not involved in the game. So I think putting everybody on one team, like, I've gotten to the point where I don't give a fuck about winning anymore. I don't know that I ever did that much. I'm competitive, but that's not the objective. My objective is I want to see my toys come to life, and I want a really funny narrative to happen, or a really interesting narrative. So I'm fine just, playing stuff. And the other thing is all the DBA videos that I did, one of the things I enjoyed, and some people may not enjoy this, is I like to talk about all of my options out loud. So if you're watching it, you kind of know what's going through my brain and why I chose to do this. Like, okay, I considered this. No, I don't like that. And I don't want it because of this. And it's kind of like a conversation, and I like that. And it may not be for everybody. I know one player does not like to be vocal about the stuff that they do, and that's their prerogative. But, look, it's a social game, and I want to be social. you know? So putting everybody on one team and then having a really small vignette, I think would make it interesting. Like I got a medic that I painted last year. And so, okay, what about this scenario where he's got to get some wounded guy and he's got to go through some German checkpoint to get through it. So, you put a couple of German guards there and you decide with the distance and just see what happens. Just see what happens. And he's like, I don't know how Jeeps work. Okay, fine. So use one in this scenario that's really small like that and create your own scenario. Because what happens is if you use one that's pre-made, they're almost all going to be too big to learn with. So you're going to be frustrated that you don't know how to play the game well, or it takes too long, or. So I think create your own stuff and create situations, vignettes. I don't know how a tank and infantry correlate to each other. I said, okay, well, you put a tank maybe facing the wrong way that's short distance from like some infantry guys and start the game and see what happens, And it's not about necessarily making the game 100% fair. It's about making it interesting. And maybe the scenario isn't fair, so switch sides and play it again. Or maybe it sucks. Never do something like that ever again, But you have this idea, and I bought this. You buy scenario books. You'll find like, oh, here's a scenario book on, I don't know, Wintergewitter. Oh, I'm really into Wintergewitter. So let me buy a scenario book with Wintergewitter. Thinking that whoever put that scenario book together has some holy grail that they read and tells them exactly what vehicles were in a certain place and what the terrain laid out, not knowing that they don't have access to anything that you don't have, and they pulled a lot of things out of their ass. Well, you can pull things out of your ass too. It's something to consider, but there's a lot of stuff that just the information just isn't out there. When we were doing a lot of World War II naval stuff, what I would do is there's only a certain number of battles that were fought. And then there's some battles that were fought that weren't really balanced. But there was a lot of like, these ships or this group of units went out and here's the composition of them. And they didn't run into anybody. But they could have. They got close. And had they run into somebody, what they would run into would have looked like this. Those are the good battles to do. Because they almost happened. Like if the sunrise had been 2 minutes different, this would have happened. Like everything was in place for that to be there. Not like, I'm going to do a scenario and we're going to have Littorio and Bismarck and Yamato versus New Jersey. No, I'm not playing games like that. I'm playing games at things that could have happened, that are reasonable. I'm not sure I'm still 100% sold on this, but I'm walking away from this thing because I need to go to the flea market. It's a couple hour drive and just to see what finds me. I could come back empty-handed. I probably won't, but there's nothing I need. So this is, we may have to revisit the Dirty Cooter again. But it's all right. And then there's another thing called, when you seal it, it looks even better. So it may be a situation when I had the sealing coat on it. Whoa, way too far away for that. Oh, yeah, I don't have my contacts in. Readers and not having your contacts in when you're reading nearsighted don't work. But, yeah, so anyhow. The delivery on it is fine. It's just the colors working with each other. It's not the missile launcher. I'm not 100% sold on it. But at some point I have to walk away from it. But anyways, thanks for coming by, folks. We'll try to take some videos of those vendors that have really pretty cool stores there. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Maybe this evening. We'll see.